Welcome to this guided tour of your free trial of dRofus. You could follow along with the video and do the exercises yourself, or you can sit back, relax, and just watch us do it for you. If you happen to find this on YouTube and you didn't get the free trial, don't be sad. Just email us at info@dRofus.com or visit our website at dRofus.com and request your very own trial. We'll be happy to get you set up. We're also hanging around in the usual social media sites, so you can visit us there if you want. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So before diving into the software, here's an overview of the composition of a dRofus project. A dRofus project is organized in a functional structure such as departments and subdepartments. At its core are rooms where you define design requirements such as the room size and function. It also contains items. Items are anything you need to track in your building. These items are put into buckets called item lists, which you use to organize them in each room. Rooms full of their design information and planned items are then organized in the functional structure that makes up your project. All the while, we're synchronizing this with your Revit or ArchiCAD models, validating your design as you go. Sounds pretty cool. All right, let's go ahead and learn more. So here's a quick overview of the user interface. First are the module quick links, which are located on the left-hand side. You can access them from the home screen or from within any other module. Next is the navigation pane where we keep everything organized. Then you have your Windows ribbon. They will change a little depending on which module you're in. We then have our main workspace, kind of like looking at a spreadsheet. And finally, you'll find a bunch of dockable dialog boxes on the right, like the properties one that's currently open. There. That's basically the user interface. Now that you're an expert in the UI, let's go ahead and get this thing started. When you log into your project, this will be the home screen. And before you get started, there's a couple of files you're going to need to download or open. So go to the Documents module, and inside the Documents module, under the Trial Resources, you'll see we've got some files here for you. The first thing you're going to want to do is open up the trial instructions. So if you open that up, you'll be able to follow along with the steps I'm going to do here. You're also going to want to download one of the Revit models. We've got both 2018 and 2019 versions. Select the one you need and then hit download and go ahead and get that model opened so you're ready to go. Once you've got the model and the instructions ready, let's go ahead and hit the Rooms module and let's start talking about building a program. The Rooms module is the first one in the upper left-hand corner. If we open that and in the navigation pane select the trial project, you'll now see all the rooms that are currently in this project. Now we cheated, we did a little bit of the homework for you, and we've imported the rooms from a Revit model, the one you're actually going to be working with later. This is a fairly common workflow along with importing rooms from an Excel file. Of course, our favorite way to do it is to actually create the program and rooms directly inside of dRofus, so we're going to show you how to do that too. So inside the main workspace, you'll see all of your rooms listed. You notice there's a bunch of columns reporting information about each room. A couple to note here, the program area, that is where you define how big the room is supposed to be. The designed area is how big the room is actually inside of your Revit model. Now right now the designed areas are all 0 because even though we've imported the rooms from Revit, we haven't synchronized the two yet. We'll do that in a little bit. Also, you'll see there are several columns for statuses for room data and our item lists. These are where you start to define all your room's design requirements and the items going into the rooms. We're going to talk about these later. Let's first look at how easy it is to actually build a program inside of dRofus. So again, you can import rooms from Revit or you can import rooms from Excel, but we're fairly confident that you're going to find it really easy to do this directly inside of dRofus. So the first thing, let's say you need to add another department. Go ahead and you're going to select the trial project, and up in the ribbon under Functions, you're going to select New. We'll give this new department a number. This can be alphanumeric, and then we're going to give it a name. My new department. All right, there. We've created a new department. Now, once you've created your department, you could actually select that department and hit New and create a sub-department underneath it. So as you can see, it's pretty easy and efficient to just start building a program directly inside of dRofus. Now, once you have your department, you can see it's empty. It's a little lonely. Let's go ahead and add a room. Simply go up into the Rooms ribbon and click Add Room. Now in the room interface, you can provide a new name if you want, or in this case, we're going to select from a predefined list of rooms that are already living inside of this project. So I'm going to go ahead and select the computer lab. I'm going to give it a program area and hit OK. There. We've now created a room inside of a new department. Again, pretty easy to do, so we think it's the most logical choice, but we do support several different workflows. All right, before we go any further, I'm going to go over to the right to the dockable dialogues, and at the top of it, I'm going to change my workspace layout so I can report room data and items. Now when I do that, the interface is a little different. We've presented you with some more information. If I go ahead and select the new room I created, you'll see that we don't have any room data, nor do we have any items in the room. Makes sense? It's brand new. This is actually a good segue now to start talking about templates. So let's go to the templates module and let's look at managing those. So the templates module is the next one down. And let's go there. So one of the great features of dRofus is our ability to manage your design standards through templates, and we have this whole module that's dedicated to doing just this. Any template you create will live in the database with your project, and you can pick which rooms you want to be driven by which one of the templates. You can use these templates to just define room data, or you can include all or some of the required items for a room. The choice is yours, and it's completely flexible. So inside of the room templates module, you'll see right now we only have one room template. We're going to go ahead and add another one. So let's go to new template. And now it's going to ask me for a template name. And we're going to create a template for our cafeterias. And make sure I spell that right. Now we could create a template for the new computer lab that we just created, but I'm fairly certain some of you didn't follow instructions and probably created some other type of room. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just to be safe, we're going to create one for the cafeterias. So in this case, I've got my template name. I can give it a description, the place where people eat food. You could include a standard area, but because in this project we know that we have two cafeterias that are different sizes, we're not going to define that right now. So just go ahead and hit OK. And now we've got our new template. So now once we have the new template, let's go ahead and open it. So select it and hit Open Template. And here you're presented with a new dialog box full of all kinds of cool stuff. So the first tab here is your properties. This is the information we just created. The next one is room data. If I go ahead and select that, this now opens up your interface for capturing all of the design and functional requirements for your room. Now, these tabs, the number of tabs, the information inside of them, this is all completely customizable. So if you can think of it, you can create it. You can be very complex in how you manage room data or very simple. In this case, though, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to add a little information into the requirements for this room. All right, so this is the place where we eat food and hide from doing real work or study or whatever. All right, we're going to include some of our occupancy. Let's say our target occupancy maybe is 20. We can add more information here. Again, there's something here for everyone. So this is really a place where your team can collaborate on capturing the requirements in one shared location. Something that's not very common right now with all the different platforms that are out there today. So I think it's worth repeating. This is a place where your entire team can now start to gather and capture their shared requirements all in one location. Again, synchronized up with your Revit or ArchiCAD models. Okay, so we've got that information there. We're not going to talk about the images or documents tabs right now. They're fairly straightforward. I'm pretty sure you can figure those out on your own. Here's a little hint. You can actually attach images and documents to your room template. All right, the next three are the furniture, finishes, and equipment. These are the item lists that we've talked about where we can start to connect items to rooms. Now, because our cafeterias are different sizes, we'll want to add their furniture and equipment directly to the rooms. However, we do want to standardize their finishes. So we're going to apply the finishes to this cafeteria template. So if I select the finishes, I'm going to save my changes here. So now when I select the finishes, if I expand the plus next to floor, you'll see that we open up another dialog box. This dialog box is actually a connection to our items module. And because we selected flooring, it's smart enough to sort through all the items in the project. And in a big project, there can be a lot. It can sort through all of those and just present me with finishes that are associated with floor or the surrounding areas. So I'm going to grab my carpet and I'm going to add that and hit OK. I'm going to now go ahead and do the same thing for my base, my walls, and my ceiling. Lucky for me, there's only one of each, so I don't have to do any thinking. Once I'm done, I'm going to hit Save and Close. There. I've now defined a room template, and inside of that room template, I've defined my finishes. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to apply this template to our rooms. Let's go back into our rooms module now, and let's find our cafeterias. There's a hint, they're in the services department. So if I go to the services department, and I'm going to click on the heading for room name, and now I'm going to sort alphabetically, and there's our two cafeterias. So the first one I'm going to grab is cafeteria room number 224, and you'll see here that we don't have any room data, and it gives us 4 different options. We're not going to talk about create unique or copy room data from other room. You could play with that in your free time. What we are going to do is we're going to create from template because we had all that work in creating that cafeteria template. So I'm going to go ahead, and when I do that, it opens up a new dialog that it's actually looking into our templates module. I'm going to grab my cafeteria, hit select, and now you can see that it's pushed all that room data into this room from the template. You'll note that all these fields are grayed out because they're being driven by the template, so I can't change them. Now let's do the same thing, only this time let's apply it to cafeteria 121, and let's create derived instead. Now creating derived instead still gives me the ability to grab my template, but this time you'll see that I can actually edit the information. So I'm going to change my occupancy to 40 because we know this is a bigger cafeteria. We'll let you change it, and we flag all the changes to the template with these red lines. You can see it's still coming from the template, but now we give you the flexibility to make modifications as you go. So if I save that, I now have my room data defined for both of my cafeterias, and if you look up in the workspace, you could see that we report the status based on how we created it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add items to these rooms. So what is an item anyway? We're going to pause here for a second and talk about items. An item is anything you need to track in your project, either within a room or as part of an engineering system. Furniture, fixtures, equipment, you name it. They live inside the items module, and as I mentioned earlier, they get put into buckets called item lists, which you use to organize them in each room. Now, items can be linked to BIM content like Revit families, but they don't have to. While we'd love to show you the items module itself, we don't really have time to dive into it today. What we are going to do though is we're going to show you how to use item lists to add items to your rooms and then validate content in a Revit model. The items module itself is very interesting, but that's really another whole exercise unto itself. So we're going to jump back into dRofus and we're going to look at adding items to our rooms. Okay, we're back in dRofus now. So now with our cafeterias, let's look at adding items. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the larger cafeteria and I'm going to go to its items in room. Now you can see here that we already have tables and chairs planned for this room. It's ready to go. But let's go ahead and select cafeteria 224, and now you'll see that we don't have any items planned for this room. So in order to add them, we need to open the room first. So if I open the room, you'll see interface similar to the room templates, and I'm going to go to my furniture. And inside of my furniture, you'll see that we have the same 4 options that we had with applying the room data, only now we're applying the furniture. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and create unique because this is going to define just the furniture for this one room. And when I do that, I'm going to hit the plus sign. And now this opens up our items module. And just like applying the finishes in the room template, we are now applying the items for the furniture for this room. So I'm going to grab this chair and I'm going to bring that in, and I'm also going to grab my 36-inch diameter table. I'm going to bring that in, hit OK. So now once I've brought these in, I can edit their quantities. If I select the chair and hit edit, I'm going to change my quantity to 24 and OK. And now I'm going to grab my table, edit that. I'm going to change my quantity to 6, hit OK. Hit save, close, and there you go. Now we have our furniture planned to go into our cafeteria. We're going to open this back up and let's do the same thing for our finishes. Only this time, because we know we've added the finishes to the template, we're going to add our finish items to this room from the template, select cafeteria, hit save, and you can see that all of our finishes have come in from our template. We'll do the same thing with the large cafeteria as well. I could have multi-selected these and saved myself a little time, but I like doing it the hard way. There we go, all done. Okay, we now have our finishes, our furniture, and our room data associated with our two cafeterias. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to jump into Revit and we're going to start showing you how we validate what's inside your Revit models. So we're over here inside of our Revit model now, and this is the same model that you downloaded at the beginning. Now when you install dRofus, you'll see that we add our very own panel to the Revit ribbon. Now when you open up this model, you should already be logged into your dRofus project, but if not, under Other, select Login and enter the same credentials that you did inside of dRofus and you'll get yourself set up. So remember how we started with rooms in dRofus that were imported from Revit? Well, now it's time to synchronize so the people working in Revit can see all the work that's been done inside of dRofus. Up in the far left corner, go ahead and open the Synchronize button. And to keep things simple, make sure that your synchronization settings match mine. And when they do, go ahead and hit OK. Now when you hit OK, you'll see in this case we've updated 91 rooms. If I close that and refresh the background, you'll see that all the departments have magically now populated inside of my model. So as you can imagine, this is based on how we set up the synchronization between dRofus and Revit. So if I go ahead and select one of my rooms, we can see that a little better. And inside of the dRofus panel, open up the Properties palette, and now you'll see that you have the properties for your Revit room, but you'll also have the dRofus room properties. So we think our room properties are a little cooler because we have color-coded arrows. So our color-colored arrows show you which direction the data is flowing between the two. So if you look here, for instance, under Areas and Measurements, you'll see there's the programmed area. The red arrow shows us pushing that into the Revit room, and there's the designed area, and the blue arrow shows us pushing the Revit area into the dRofus room. So if I switch back to the Revit room properties, you'll see there's my programmed area getting pushed into Revit along with my department from dRofus. So now, through a quick synchronization, we've pushed all that data into the Revit model. Pretty cool. We now get everything updated. Now with the updated color coding, you can see that our plan is missing a room. So this is a perfect place for the room that we added in dRofus. So go ahead and use your room command and place a new room just like you always would. And now this time we're going to intercept that, and here's a peek into our Revit Rooms module. So this is where you can select whichever room you want, and in this case select the computer lab and hit link, and now hit escape, and you'll see that that room has now been placed and synchronized with the Revit room. And if I select it, you'll see there's my department and my name and my area all being pushed into the Revit room. And again, there's the synchronization, so you can rest assured that the data is now synchronized between dRofus and Revit. The next thing we're going to do is now start to place the items that we planned inside of our Revit model. So as cool as our room validation is, our ability to validate what goes into the rooms is even cooler. Let's go ahead and zoom into the upper corner of the plan so we can see that cafeteria. Now go ahead and select the cafeteria, and this time inside of the dRofus panel, select Items in a Room. Now when you select that, you're going to get an interface that shows you all of the dRofus items that are planned to go into that room versus all the Revit families that are actually placed in the room. Not only do we tell you where things don't match, we also let you decide how you want to fix them. So in this case, we know we need to add the tables and chairs that you work so hard to plan inside of dRofus. So under the actions for the table, go ahead and hit Place Family. And when you do that, we'll basically load the family, let you place it, and let's place it 6 times, and go ahead and hit Escape. And after a quick synchronization, we show that the plan count meets the modeled count. That's pretty cool. Now you can go ahead and you could do the same thing to place the rest of the chairs. You can see we already have 8 of them in the model, but we still need to place 16 more. I'm not going to do that, but you can go ahead and place them. If you're curious why the finishes are showing up but aren't modeled, that has to do with how the items are created. And again, that gets into the items module a little bit more, but you can define items in dRofus that don't necessarily need to be modeled inside of Revit. And with that, we're now going to jump back into dRofus and we're going to talk a little bit about creating some reports. Now dRofus comes preloaded with a bunch of PDF reports and Excel exports. You can explore those in your free time in the reports module, but we just wanted to touch on a couple of PDF reports that most teams find useful. Go ahead and select the large cafeteria and under Import Export PDF reports, go all the way to the bottom and generate the room data sheet on the selected room. Now it's going to run this report in the background. Let's go ahead and open that up. So there's your room data sheet, and you can see in the room data sheet interface we'll show you some of the core room information, and then all the room data that you captured in those various tabs get reported in these different headings in your room data sheet report. Now this one's pretty boring because I didn't spend any time filling that data out, but you can imagine how useful these are for client meetings and deliverables. In addition to the room data, you can also capture all of your item lists for your rooms. So there are the finishes and the furniture that was planned for this room, as well as floor plan and key plan coming from the Revit model. Now these aren't Photoshop trickery where people have spent tons of time formatting PDF reports. These are actually views we create in Revit for you and then place in the report. They act like any other view in your Revit project. You can apply view templates to them. You can annotate them. The next time you run a synchronization with dRofus and Revit, we will update those images for the most current plans that you have in your project. The next report I'm going to run is a program validation report. So back here in the import ribbon, I'm going to go to my program validation report and no restrictions. I want to run it on the entire project. So there it is. This is showing me each department, the rooms in the departments, and then the programmed versus actual area. Now since we synchronize this with our Revit model, if you remember when we first started, the actual areas were 0. Now that they're synchronized, you can see these are the actual areas coming from Revit alongside the programmed areas that are planned in dRofus. These program validation reports can be run at any time and are an easy way for the team members not working inside of Revit to see how a project is progressing. And with that, we want to say thanks. We know you're super busy, so we truly appreciate you spending time with us today. Hopefully this quick tour has inspired you to learn more about how you can add us to your BIM workflow. For a more in-depth demo, if you didn't get the trial data set and you found us on YouTube, or if you want to discuss pricing options, feel free to reach out to us at the phone number or the email address below. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.